My name is Josh Henschke. I'm the publisher of the Maize and Blue Review on Rivals. Today, it's just a chill hangout stream. I'm talking to myself right now because there's no one in, but today's a hangout stream, just hanging out, answering your questions. Nothing really on the agenda, so to speak. We're just hanging out and have some fun, see what happens, Obviously, do want to address the big thing that happened today. We talked about it on the podcast yesterday, so it's funny how, almost 24 hours later, we're looking at Olivier Nkamhoua is now officially no longer considering Michigan. He's down to Baylor in West Virginia. And, West Virginia, when that visit happened, it kind of immediately caused some concerns around Michigan fans and even me in general. I think anytime you get other programs suddenly entering the mix when you've heard for so long that Michigan is the team to beat, and then all of a sudden, oh, here comes another school, which, is very alarming. And, that ends up being the case. They end up being one of the, I guess you consider it, finalists for Nkamhoua. Baylor as well. Baylor has done a really good job. They've beaten Michigan before by getting Ray J. Dennis, even though Michigan they were always on the outside looking in there. But, this is a big blow to the program. Big blow. There's no other way you can describe it. The NIL thing is what it is. But, you have to be able to get some of these guys. You've got 3 scholarship spots open right now and 0 prospects of filling them. And we're not just talking 3 spots to fill the back end of the bench. This is 3 spots that could be some serious playing time, could be some guys who could absolutely contribute. So it's tough, I don't blame anyone for the morale being so low right now. It's bad. It's bad. There's no other way to describe it. It's bad right now. The Caleb Love stuff is what it is. That should have been resolved way earlier than it did. That's fine that you can hang on until May to be in on these guys and to figure out what's going on, but you got to have some sort of backup plan. And maybe the coaches do. I don't know. I'm not in that room. I'm not in the building every week and every day, so I don't know, what's talked about behind closed doors. But you can only look at what you know and what you see. And right now, what you're seeing is that. What's going on? What is going on? What's your plan? You've been punched in the mouth, with news 2 or 3 times this offseason, and you really don't have a counterpunch to any of it. Chalk it up for some of it to be bad luck, but man, you lose Kobe Buffkin, you lose Jet Howard, which Jet Howard was probably more of a expected departure, and Kobe Buffkin could have had a really big role and had taken a major step forward. But again, if he's trending as a first round pick, you can't really blame the kid for leaving. So now, we're looking at, Michigan having some issues keeping guys around. You lose Hunter Dickinson, which, I don't think if Michigan were to hold on to Hunter Dickinson, I don't think they would be in a better situation, but I don't think this takes the team from where it is now to the next level. It's just clear that Michigan's taken multiple steps back. Caleb Love, again, woof. That whole situation it's just bad. It's just bad. It's not good right now. You're sitting in June, and the transfer portal is what it is. It's drying up quickly. A guy like Zion Pullins out there not going to Michigan, even though he's got Michigan in his top group. It's tough. It's tough right now. It is the basketball program is a very difficult sell right now. And even if he ends up picking a Olivier Nkamhoua, even if he ends up picking a West Virginia or a Baylor. I don't think they're going to be able to offer the role that Michigan could offer him right away. I mean, you're talking about a starting role right off the bat. So, I mean, hopefully, Nimari Burnett and Trey Jackson are fine. They'll likely be your starters now, but depth is razor thin. And so where do you go? Where do you go from here? I don't know. I don't have the answer for you. I don't. It's June. It's looking bleak. There's no reasonable scenario where you can say, okay, we're just going to bank these scholarships for 2024. You can't do that right now. You cannot do that right now. You have to fill them. You have to get bodies in there. And at this point, if you're going to we just need warm bodies at this point, you're in a world of hurt. And, it just feels like Michigan has gotten caught with their pants down multiple times this offseason, and it's just not a good look. It's bad. I mean, that's all you can really say. So where does Michigan go from here with the Nkamhoua situation? I guess it's good in mind at this point. I mean, you have to hope that maybe there's a surprise grad transfer that comes in that enters the portal that's a logical fit that works. Maybe you reach for talent. Maybe you add it in the 2023 class. Maybe you add it in a European guy like they did with Yusuf Kayat last year. It's a possibility, but then again, you're asking for a guy that, at this point, if you're adding a 2023 guy to your class, it's either A, he's asked out of his NLI, or B, it's a guy you're reaching on, and you're going to have to rely on a guy that you're reaching on just to fill your bodies. I mean, you're lighting a scholarship on fire at that point. I mean, maybe they find a diamond in the rough. I don't know. Maybe I just don't see it. I don't see it. It's tough. It's very tough right now. It's a tough sell. I know the big question on our message boards is, can Michigan win 13 games this season? And, I'm asking, football? Yeah, absolutely. They can win 13 games in football. Basketball, yeesh, is looking tough right now. I mean, maybe they get to 13 wins, but to ask them to come in and be competitive in the conference is a big ask. So the state of the basketball program is not good right now, which then leads me to the whole NIL thing. This reason why they're missing on Nkamhoua is largely rumored to be because of NIL. And man, that's a whole other issue in itself. It seems the football program's figured it out, and I give credit to Jim Harbaugh because he's actively out there trying to raise funds, trying to raise attention to NIL with these major collectives and things like that. And maybe, again, I'm not in Ann Arbor every day. I'm not in the basketball building, so I don't know what they're doing, and I don't know what Juwan does with his free time. But, it feels like Jim Harbaugh is way more vocal when it comes to getting support for NIL than Juwan is. And, maybe he's doing phone calls behind closed doors. Again, I'm not just going to say that Juwan's not out here working or Juwan's not out here working the phones or whatever. But, again, I can only speak on what it looks like publicly. And it's clear that Jim is at least trying to be more vocal publicly about getting support for NIL. And Juwan has done it before. He said that he's needed support, and I agree with him. He does need support. Trevor and I talked about this on our podcast yesterday. Michigan needs support with NIL. Or excuse me. Well, yeah, Michigan does need it, but basketball in particular needs it. And I think the football program has kind of figured out the admissions thing too, because I guess those are one and the same in terms of fan gripes. The Caleb Love situation was an admissions issue, but again, that was probably an issue that you knew was going to end up happening. If there were any questions about him being admitted, you might not get it across the finish line. So again, that's another reason you don't have a backup plan after that. So you get caught with your pants down, and now your program is getting trashed because you missed out on a guy because of academics, which, could have been avoidable in the first place. So, going back to NIL, I do think the basketball program needs support, and that, you don't have to have me sit here staring at a computer screen to let you know that. I mean, it's clear that the basketball program needs support. And, the football program has its support from an NIL level, but they've also figured it out from an admissions sub-level. To get grad transfers and first-year guys who, first-year guys, like true freshmen coming into the portal, those two, that's the recipe there that has worked really well for football. Adding a guy like Drake Nugent, who's a grad transfer from Stanford. I mean, yeah, those credits from Stanford are probably easier to transfer over, but when you're talking about a grad transfer, it's typically a slam dunk from Michigan. So, and first-year guys like Ernest Hausman, that's a new development. That's something new that they've kind of figured out. So, maybe basketball has to take the same approach. Just go strictly with first-year players or guys that are graduating or plan to graduate. So it's a tough situation right now. The basketball program is a tough sell. There's a lot of moving parts that still need to be moved into place. And, I get asked all the time, what's next for basketball? What are they going to do? Your guess is as good as mine at this point. It's a tough sell. It's really tough. I don't know where Michigan goes from here, but they need to figure things out quick or things are going to get bleak quickly. I mean, they already are bleak, but the scary part is that things could get even more bleak quickly. So it's just another one, a line of just trips and falls and whatever you want to call it for the basketball program. It's just another line of those things that have happened. And Nkamhoua is another steal. Basically, Nkamhoua got stolen away because, NIL and just a better situation. Michigan had a lot to sell him, and it was effective. I mean, we weren't the only ones that were saying that Michigan was sitting in a great spot for him. Now it's a complete 180. So after his NBA draft pursuits, when he came out of the NBA draft, we thought, all right, the pursuit was over. He was going to stay at Michigan, he was going to stay in college and go to Michigan. That was the general gist of Michigan's pursuit there. It was going to be Michigan or pros. And then all of a sudden, even before he removed his name from the draft, he had a visit coming with West Virginia. Now he has a visit to Baylor. Kansas State thrown in there too, but Michigan and Kansas State are eliminated. So just tough. It's I mean, there's no way to sugarcoat it. And again, I'm not going to be here. I'm not going to sit here and try to make positivity out of a bad situation. This is bad. This is bad, folks. Michigan basketball is reaching their danger zone very quickly. And, if the alarm button hasn't been pushed already, you got to push it because, again, we're in June, 3 open spots. Well, how are you going to fill them? All the big guys are accounted for. Maybe someone comes out that we aren't talking about or aren't thinking about, but tough situation right now. It's a tough sell. And I don't know how they're going to answer those questions and what they're going to do, but it's not looking good right now. It's a very bleak situation, and there's no quick fixes. There's no easy fixes here unless they pull a rabbit out of a hat and find a guy that has some sort of just major contribution to the team in his first year. But looking very bleak. So. That's basically my gist for the basketball program. I mean, I know we've got a couple of listeners here, but if anyone wants to ask questions, feel free. I'm going to check on our Twitter too to see if there are any questions. But yeah, football, basketball, you name it. we're just hanging out today, getting your questions answered. So, good visit weekend for Michigan, though, for the football program. It was a good visit weekend. Brian Robinson is an interesting guy. He's an interesting one. I'm not sure what I'm expecting there. Not sure what I'm expecting there, but because it really feels like those two have kind of separated a little bit. Like it's just like they've kind of faded away from one another. So, yeah, I mean, we're just kind of hanging out. So, here's Gavin. I got a question here from Gavin. Any news on Boo Carter and what's your feel on him? Yeah, we spoke to Boo, what was it, Thursday at the National College Showcase at Wayne State. Our Seth Berry spoke with him. He's got a visit coming up this weekend. Let me double check on that. I've got our my dog is barking at nothing. Typical. I think he's coming June. Yeah, this weekend. He's coming this weekend. So he'll be here this weekend. This is the only official visit he's taking, which is, you can view that as a very good thing, or you can just view that as, okay, he's trying to, tightening things up. He's, trying to figure out what he's doing before he makes his announcement to Tennessee, which I think Michigan and Tennessee are 1A, 1B for him. And there's a very good possibility that this visit could, and I'm not saying it will, and I'm not saying for sure, but there's a very good possibility that this visit could put Michigan over the edge. There's a lot of positive things going for Michigan, and there's a lot of positives going for Tennessee too. The hometown team, family's right there, everything's right there. But with Michigan, this visit coming up, this is the first time his whole family will be with him on his visit to Ann Arbor. This is the first time they'll be checking out Ann Arbor, which is a big deal. His relationship with the coaching staff is really good. He's also got an extremely good relationship with the commits. He's in group chats with commits. So, and the commits feel really good about him. I think and I know Seth has kind of discussed it too on our message boards, but Michigan really feels like a dark horse here for Boo Carter. And again, I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying there's a chance, and that's all Michigan needs is a chance. You get a guy on campus, you do all the right things with the family, you convince the family, you build on those relationships, and you have a puncher's chance. You always do. So we'll see what happens there with Carter. I think Michigan has a great shot. I think they have a great shot. I do think it's going to be Kentucky. It's Tennessee. I do think it's going to be Tennessee. However, just timing wise, it makes a lot of sense that Michigan could sneak their way in there. I mean, the only official visit he's going to take, it's going to be the last one he takes before he announces in New York, which is kind of an interesting announcement spot for a kid in Tennessee going to New York and announcing it live. But hey, good for him. He's earned it. He's earned his moment. And you can, when you're a recruit like that, or any kid in general, if you've got a moment like that, you can do whatever you want with it because it's yours and you've earned it. You've worked for it. So, yeah, Michigan, great. They're in a great position. I believe that they can sneak in and steal this one from Tennessee if things bounce their way. And we've just talked about the basketball program. The football program is similar. Football program is complete opposite. Is not similar. Complete opposite. Things are bouncing in Michigan football's way. A lot of good bounces, a lot of solid momentum. So this type of thing, anything can happen. Anything can happen here. So, yeah, we'll obviously have more after his visits wrapped up this weekend. But I bet you can expect Jacob Oden to be on campus this weekend because him and Boo Carter are very close. They've built a really strong relationship over these last coming months, and obviously both of those guys are involved in the 7-on-7 circuit. So that, there's a relationship there as well. So, yeah, we'll find out. We'll find out more. Oh, and Jeremiah Beasley has also got a good relationship with Boo Carter too. So we're expecting Jeremiah Beasley to be in the class for Michigan, and he's expected to commit at the end of the month. He's got an announcement planned at the end of the month. He has an official visit coming up here, not this weekend, but the weekend of the 16th. He will be in Ann Arbor for his official visit, and he already said he knows where he's going, and he didn't say specifically where, but if you read the tea leaves and read the momentum, that's very favorable for Michigan. So that's another feather in its cap for Boo Carter with getting two guys that are close with him as Michigan commits. So can't go wrong there. So thank you for the question, Gavin. Appreciate you. If anyone else has any other questions, feel free to fire them away. You can tweet at me on Twitter. I've got my Twitter up here. Hold on a second here. I'm just trying to get everything. There we go. So if you have any questions, feel free to shoot them to me, whether it's on Twitter or in this feed here. But yeah, I think it's actually I just got a tweet here from a Mike. It said the kid averaged like 6. I'm talking about Kama. The kid averaged like 6 points a game. It's not like he was an All-American. True. But at this point, you need guys. You don't have any. That 6 points is better than 0 with nothing on the bench. That's how bad and bleak this situation is right now. Michigan doesn't have a guy. They can't afford to lose a guy who produces 6 points a game. That's how bad it is. So yeah, I know it's not like if this was any other year, missing out on a guy like Kamala would be no big deal. But this year it is kind of a big deal because you don't have a backup plan, at least not publicly. There's nothing that you can fall back on. So yeah, I do understand that he's not going to come in and light the world on fire, but at least you got someone coming in. You got someone who can produce something. That's what they need right now. And it's sad that it's gotten to this point, but this is what they need. They need someone to come in and produce. Just give you minutes. And now you're reaching to the point where you're just hoping for warm bodies at this point. And that's not good. I mean, this program, man, I don't know. I don't know, man. It's just, I don't have I don't have an answer. Like when people ask me, what is this program doing? What are they doing? I don't have the answer. I can't, I'm not going to sit here and say they're not doing anything because of course they're always working, but what are they doing? At the same time, I think it's fair to ask what they're doing. I do think they're working. Yes. I don't think they're just sitting in their office playing, solitaire on their computer. I just don't think what they're doing is effective. I guess I'll just say that, so I don't have the answers in terms of what this program is doing and how they're doing it and what's next. It's the only thing we can do is talk about it, talk us through it. This is a complaint circle. This is a safe space for Michigan fans. You can come in here and complain and share your frustrations. This is a welcoming place to where you can kind of share your frustrations with the basketball program, or even share your excitement for the football program, because now we're at a point where it's always football season. So because everything is unicorns and rainbows with the football program right now, and everything is raining acid with the basketball program. It's acidic. It's I'm not going to say toxic, but not a good situation right now. So we have a question here from Cameron. Do you think that Howard makes the NCAA tournament? Right now, no. Not right now. Not if they took this exact roster into the season, I think they'll be in deep trouble. I do think they'll be in deep trouble. And I don't think there's any 3 guys out there that could turn this ship around. I think they could help. But I don't think there's a realistic scenario where Michigan fills these 3 spots and you can have anyone sit there and say, this team is a NCAA tournament team, is a Big Ten championship team. I don't think there's anyone out there that can do that can make that for you. You could be competitive and maybe you have a couple of lucky bounces go your way, which was the exact opposite that happened last season. However, as things stand right now, not a tournament team, not even close. It's that bad. And, I'm not usually a guy that just is reactionary to things. Like, Michigan misses out on Ray J. Dennis. I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, God, the world, no, this is terrible. Now it's terrible. I mean, this is not good. It's not good. And where I think right now, where it stands, I don't think Michigan is a tournament team. And I don't know if they will be even when they fill out the roster. I don't know. I mean, I do think a guy like Burnett and Jackson help, but I don't think, and this isn't a bagging on those guys. I just think Michigan as a whole, I don't think they have enough. They lost way too much to have, to absorb losses like that. I mean, losing Bufkin, and again, not bagging on the kid. I think the kid made the right decision for him because if he's going to be a first-round draft pick, and you cannot blame anyone who was a first-rounder to leave. However, that was a killer for Michigan. That was brutal because you had a guy that, contributed in his own ways in freshman year, and then you had a guy that you relied on sophomore year, and then he's gone. 1 year, basically. You got a 1 year out of him. And his junior year would have been massive. Now you're sitting there going, okay, who's the 2 guard? Who's going to be the depth behind that 2 guard? And I didn't even mention the fact that they lost Papa Conte either. I mean, that's another thing that happened this year. We get so caught up on the Caleb Loves, the transfer portal. You lost Papa Conte too. You lost your big man. You don't have a big man, which is even worse. You don't have a big man. You lose Dickinson, and you lose the depth behind him. What do you do? What do you do? You can't just play small ball permanently because you'll get cooked in the Big Ten. I mean, everything positive that happened everywhere else. Everywhere else got their big guys back for another year, and the exact opposite happened for Michigan. All the other things, everyone else left at Michigan, and then you got Zach Edey coming back, Terrence Shannon coming back, a bunch of other guys. MSU is going to be really good this year. Talk about a punch to the gut. It's like Michigan has issues keeping their guys. But at the same time, when you're talking about a first-round draft pick, it's hard to argue that, this guy should have absolutely came back with, like, for Michigan State for example, I don't think those guys that came back would have been first-round draft picks, but they are very good college players, which are going to be helpful for this team. So, not good right now. I mean, it's one thing after another. It's snowballing out of control, and I don't know if there's even anything that you can do to stop the bleeding. I mean, again, who knows? I mean, it is June, but maybe someone that we're not even talking about enters the portal and picks Michigan. But right now, why would you, unless you're purely in it for the love of the game? It's this NIL thing that is just killing Michigan right now. They can't compete, and that's another thing they're tripping over themselves about too, is they're not going to offer guys straight up pay to play, which I understand. I get it, from a moral high ground standpoint. I suppose you can't offer kids straight up money. We'll see. I don't know. It's just bad right now. Like, you can't even. I don't know. I got nothing for you. This is just. I mean, maybe they fill out the three spots and you feel a little better, but there's no there's no light at the end of the tunnel here. You're walking down a really dark and lonely path, and oh boy. So let's go to the questions here. Let's get some other guys in. Aiden, what's up, dude? How are you? Thanks for stopping by. Always appreciate your inputs and questions on the board. You can be like Aiden here and join us. Michigan.rivals.com/sign up. We'd love to have you. We feel like we have the best community out there. Very welcoming and a lot of good people in our community. And the community is what makes us. We are, I guess we're the face of it, but the guys like Aiden are the people that make this ship go. No pun intended with Jordan Ship visiting over the weekend. So, thank you, Aiden. Please, if you're not subscribed, michigan.rivals.com/sign up. We'd love to have you. Going to be a busy month with football recruiting, basketball, I guess. But yeah, it's going to be a good month. Good months to come, good weeks to come. We've only been around for a year and a half. We're the new kids on the block in a beat or in a market that's loaded with talent, loaded with talented writers, beat guys, recruiting guys, a lot of good talent. So picking us means a lot. Means a lot to me. It's appreciated because you can go anywhere and you pick us. Truly appreciate it. So Aiden, again, thank you. And what's up, dude? Feel free to drop on by whenever we're live or even on the boards. So this guy, don't get me started on this guy. Trevor McHugh. Trevor McHugh. What a slime ball. No, I'm just kidding. Trevor, we love you. Next time, hopefully you can make one of these live shows. Not like we did one yesterday or anything, but Josh Wallace announcing on Wednesday. How am I feeling? I feel good. I'm not quite ready. I have to figure out. What's going on, but to hear officially what he's doing. But those inside the building really that really feel good. I mean, one guy in particular who have very close knowledge to this situation and Michigan's recruiting and stuff said that they feel like they're the leader coming out of this. So we'll see. I got a couple of questions. I got a couple of messages out about that actually. So I'm hoping to hear back relatively soon, and I'll have more on that on the website michigan.rivals.com at some point soon. And then we'll go from there, and then maybe we'll hop back on this thing and do it again. So, Antoine, what's up, my guy? You're another one of our valuable commenters. I appreciate you. You're always around, and that means a lot to us. And I don't want to let that go unstated. We appreciate you. Kyan McDonald visited Michigan. I don't have any news on him yet. Nothing. No one I've spoken to had mentioned him specifically. There's another guy I have to ask about. There's just so many DBs that they're in on right now. It's really hard to tell how this thing is going to shape out. It's one position where they haven't had as much momentum, which is fine. We'll see about that. But again, always happy to answer questions. Appreciate you. And another question. Do I pay for content writers? We are not hiring currently, but when we have openings, yes, we do have paid positions on staff when we have openings. But right now, we do not. But that's something that, we would like to add to our staff down the line. But we need to focus on growing the site and growing the subscriber base and just growing our our blueprint, our floor plan first before we build upward. But that's something. Adding to the staff is definitely something that we've been thinking about and talking about, but not quite ready to do quite yet. All right, here's Aiden back again. If Michigan misses out on Bryce West and Aaron Scott, who are the guys you could see sliding in? A guy that I could see sliding in out of Ohio is Tarian Nichols. I love that kid's game. I think he's under recruited. Michigan has done a good job recruiting him, and I think even missing out on both Bryce West or Aaron Scott or both, I still think he has a great shot of being in the class. He's a guy that the defensive coaching staff really likes. So he's a realistic option that I could see added into the class. But and speaking of Bryce West and Aaron Scott, those two guys are in a very unique situation because I don't think those two want to go to school together. They want to carve their own path. So it'll be interesting to see what happens because really you're kind of waiting on one and figuring out what the other's going to do. I have my prediction in for Ohio State for Bryce West. However, he's visiting on the 11th, I believe. I think he's coming in for a visit here, and Aaron Scott as well. Both of those guys are coming in to very close vicinity to each other on official visits. So another guy that Michigan feels really good about, the Michigan commits feel really good about. They have a really good relationship with him, and yeah, it's a situation where those two might not play together. And, if it's Aaron Scott that picks Ohio State, what does Bryce West do? And if it's Bryce West that picks Ohio State, what does Aaron Scott do? And I think for Aaron Scott's purposes, I think Oregon is a dark horse team there. The kid grew up loving Oregon. I'm talking about like the bed sheets were Oregon. So it's hard to kind of actually, you nailed it, Aiden. Here, we'll bring up his next question or next statement. The recruitment of Bryce West and Aaron Scott seems so hard to figure out. Yeah, I agree, 100%. It's I think you're right. Both realistically could lead the state of Ohio. Neither of those choices could technically be Michigan. Scott to Oregon, West to even Georgia. But right now, at least with West, the buzz seems to be around Ohio State. But Michigan is right there too. They're trying. And again, kind of like the same situation with Boo Carter. Get him on campus and anything can happen, especially when you're riding this recruiting high right now. And you have winning that you can fall back on now. Winning helps too. You actually have something tangible to show these guys instead of selling, hey, you could be the next group of guys to do this, or you could do this. Now it's, you will do this if you commit to us. You will do that because we have done this. We've beaten Ohio State twice. We've been back-to-back college football playoffs. You got to win one. Hopefully, this is the year that happens. You got to win one. But, it's, again, really interesting situation. And it's funny that, we're in June right now and, there's not too many puzzle pieces left, but it feels like this stuff's getting wrapped up early. But who knows what happens there? I mean, we'll see. The visit could change things. It could not. It'll be interesting, but we'll see what happens. Aiden, appreciate you as always. Antoine here has a couple of statements. We'll read his first one here. Really is turning his attention toward Michigan. I think this weekend will be a big one for Justin Scott. There's so many guys. It's so hard to keep track of. He's not coming in this weekend, is he? Yeah, he will be in. There's just so many guys to keep track of. Yeah, he'll be in this weekend for a official visit. But I think Michigan, again, is kind of one of those dark horse teams where they could absolutely sneak in with a good visit simply because he has such a good relationship with Mike Elston. And I said to Trevor on our podcast yesterday, he asked the question, which one of the 5 stars could Michigan realistically make a move for? And Justin Scott was my answer. I think if you're talking about like 2 months ago, I would have said Notre Dame for Justin Scott, absolutely. But it really feels like things have taken a turn because Miami's been getting in there, and now Miami could be a realistic choice. And now Michigan too. I think Michigan is a good choice, and I think he's an absolute take, obviously, no matter what happens in that position, because you got guys like Owen Waffle who will most assuredly commit to Michigan, and David Pale, who's coming in later this month as well, who has publicly stated that Michigan is the leader for him. So I think he's one of those super guys where you take regardless and then fill out the board with the guys that you wanted to take. So yeah, he's an interesting guy. And yeah, we'll see. I mean, and which brings up Antoine's second point here is, do you think Justin Scott figured out that Michigan is the best deal for his career as opposed to getting money? From an academic standpoint, which he goes to a very good academic school in Chicago, I do think Michigan makes a ton of sense. You know, not only from a playing style standpoint, I think he'd be an excellent fit as a tackle. That kid's a monster. He's a monster. And I do think Michigan is the best fit for him. You know, from a culture standpoint, from academic standpoint, and everything else you want to throw in there, I think that's the best fit for him, especially staying local in the Midwest. And, you know, and here's the thing when talking about money, my opinion when I talk about money, I don't like to assume every kid is after money. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I don't want to put that out there. I mean, who knows? I mean, yeah, getting money is a factor for some of these guys, but you know, I can't just sit here and claim the bag with every kid. I just don't want to do that. You know, I want to assume that every kid is trying to go through his process the way he wants to. And if that ends up with money, so be it. But I can't just sit here and say, yeah, this kid wants this from this amount. It's just, I don't know. It's just weird. And plus, I don't have details of how much someone's offering compared to what he could get at Michigan. I don't know that. So I can't speak on that with confidence. And that's just assuming things. And I don't want to assume stuff about things I don't know. So I'm sure money is in the back of his mind, but I mean, if he goes the money route, Miami makes the most sense. I mean, they offer a ton for their recruits, and who knows, they may not be very good, but they offer a ton. So yeah, I mean, we'll see. So. And Antoine's next point, I think Scott is worried about Ohio State's defensive scheme. I've been tweeting to him since the beginning about going to Jim Mills being in that cover zero scheme. I think he's worried about that. Yeah, you know, that scheme thing is another issue on its own. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's an issue, but yeah, I think I would be very surprised if both of those guys ended up going to Ann Arbor. So, or excuse me, going to Ohio State. You know, one of them might end up in Ann Arbor, but both going to Ohio State, we'll see. I don't quite buy that just yet. So, Antoine, keep fighting the good fight with the tweets. You know, maybe he reads them. Maybe not. Never know. Keep fighting the good fight. Appreciate that. Here's Aiden. Miami seems like a sucker move for recruits, money, weather, women, but severely average outcomes in the field, minimal NFL production as recent. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's one of those things where, you know, Miami's beautiful. If you're a young kid from the Midwest and you get courted by Miami, yeah, I mean, that's hard to turn down if you're a young kid. So you also got to, I mean, try to keep it in perspective too, that we're not talking about grown men here. We're talking about adults, We're talking about kids with adults who might also have questionable judgment too. And that's not calling out anyone in particular. It happens, you know, the circle sometimes gets poisoned a little bit. And yeah, I mean, Miami's production on the field has not been good. I think Mario Cristobal is a very good recruiter. I don't think he's a great coach. I think he's a good coach, not a great coach. Great recruiter, good coach. But again, I don't think that's the recipe to be successful. So it appears that their NIL is working. I mean, you've got kids in their commit graphics posing with fat stacks of cash. So the money part is effective to some. I mean, there's no denying that. I can't sit here and say, oh, none of these kids are about money. That I'd be lying. But, I can't speak on specific kids right now. But but going back to your original point, yeah, there's no denying what Miami can offer. Schools like Miami, schools like USC, UCLA, those tropical locations, I guess if you want to call it. Excuse me. They offer a lot, but you may not, what you get in return, maybe considered a trap, So, Miami definitely, it's one of those schools where, if I was a young kid and I got a chance to go there for free or to go at least visit for free, I would be easily swayed coming out of that visit. So, it happens. Some young kids are easily impressionable, and it's up to the people in their circle to kind of ease it in and kind of give them a realization that, hey, not everything's about the money and weather. Things are about if you're. Oh yeah, no, Aiden, are you visiting for sure? Damn right, I'm visiting. I'm not turning that down. That'll be my number one trip. Absolutely, I am not turning that down. I'm going. And they would roll out the red carpet because they know exactly what they're doing down there when it comes to marketing their program. They know what they're doing. They're not stupid. They know what they've got. They know how to do it, and other programs do it too. They do it in their own ways that are unique to their area. So, absolutely, I'm visiting. If it's kind of I've been thinking about, like, if I was ever a recruit, what were the 5. Now it's not even, people can take it, unlimited official visits now, so it doesn't matter. But what would the 5 official visits you take? And about 4 of those would be tropical locations to Hawaii, probably UCLA, maybe USC, Miami, obviously, in Michigan. I'd take an official to Michigan. I absolutely would. 100%. I'd take an official there. I would. But yeah, absolutely I'd visit. There's no doubt in my mind. Not down that for a second. And no one's going to tell me otherwise. I would 100% take that visit. So if anyone else has got any other questions, feel free to fire away. I'll be here for another few minutes, probably until, I don't know, 7 o'clock. Just depends. We'll see how it goes. We'll stay. I mean, I'm not really have anything to do. So we'll see. And here's Antoine with another statement. I think money is involved, especially when it comes to certain situations. Yeah, I mean, the South Carolina point comes in. Yeah, I mean, Nick Harbor is a good example. South Carolina came out of nowhere and won his recruitment. Yeah, I mean, it's funny when you get a new fresh coach like Beamer. He's very much. We'll see. He's had some success. He's had some upsets. But when you have a guy that's, big into the spotlight and social media stuff for the retweets, it doesn't necessarily work in your favor all the time. Like, it eventually becomes like everyone thinks it's cool at first, and then all of a sudden it kind of, this is kind of annoying. So, but when you're paying money, you can land anyone realistically. If you're competitive and win these bidding wars, you can get anyone you want. I mean, even SMU back in the day when they got the death penalty, they basically bought anyone they wanted to. And SMU isn't exactly a destination spot, for history wise, and everything else. Southern Methodist, not a destination spot, but money talks. Money talks. There's no denying that. So, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. This is the. I say this is the current state of college football, but it's always been this way. Now you can just openly do it and not get in trouble for it. because NCAA is shown to not have a backbone. They're not going to go after you. So this is the current state of things. But now you don't have to do it in the shadows. You can do it openly. You can do it out loud. This is a thing now. So money, unfortunately, is a factor for some kids. That's just the way it is. So, and here's Aiden with a good question. Next commit prediction. My favorite question to ever ask me. It's my absolute favorite question. And I say that with 100% sarcasm because it's hard to predict because timelines change. And especially while there's really not anything imminent with anyone. Most of this stuff's going to happen at the end of the month. Jeremiah Beasley at the end of the month. If you're talking about a guy that has a commitment set in stone, it's going to be Jeremiah Beasley, I think, would be my next prediction. But if someone comes off, just randomly, a guy like Owen Waffle, I think it's Waffle. I'll have to do some research. I might be sitting here looking like an idiot calling him Waffle, but I think it's Waffle. Owen Waffle, Waffle, whatever. I think that's going to be the next commit that is off, not necessarily off the radar, but a guy that doesn't have anything set in stone. But when you're talking about a guy that has an announcement date in mind, Jeremiah Beasley makes a ton of sense. So, it should be a good month. They should at least get one or two, maybe more, maybe even like a guy like Aaron Childs too could announce shortly after his visit. Which perfectly lines up with Antoine's point here. I think if Michigan gets Childs, they'll get Mayo. I think they get both regardless. I think they would get either. Let me put it this way. I don't think they need to get one to get the other. I think they'll get both, but I think Michigan has a great chance of getting one or the other. They just don't need one to get the other, if you get what I'm saying. I do think Childs will commit either on his visit or shortly after. I think Michigan has a great shot with Darian Mayo. He really likes Michigan, and heading out of he took a unofficial earlier in the spring, and he really impressed. Has a great relationship with Elston. I do think Michigan will get Mayo. I'm not ready to put in an official prediction or anything like that yet, but I am leaning towards doing so. I think they have a great shot. So, I don't think they need one to get the other. I do think they'll end up with both, and that's huge. Those guys from the DMV, give me more DMV guys. Those guys are ballers for sure, from great programs too. So, again, June should be a good month. I mean, at the very least, you get positivity, you get some good buzz, and maybe you walk away with more than a couple of commitments. Michigan is doing a great job of filling out their board early, which they don't nearly really do. They usually are late closers. So if they close well, who knows? This class could be really good. I mean, there's always a guy that ends up in the class that we're not ever talking about, that not right now. There's always a guy that pops up. So, but yeah, should be a good month. Should be a good month for sure. And Aiden with the Laquan Treadwell. Wow, that's a throwback. Laquan Treadwell was like the first big recruit that I can remember when I first started doing my blogging days. Like, he was the first recruit that I was covering, and it was like, oh yeah, he's for sure going to Michigan. Like, there's no doubt in my mind. He's gonna tee up with Shane Morris, and they're gonna have an elite group. And then he goes on an Ole Miss trip and poses with a Rolex and all a bunch of money, and word comes out a couple of years after that they're paying recruits and they're not doing a very good job of hiding it. So it all made sense. So that was another one. Like, wow, recruiting is real. It is real. It is dangerous. It's a dangerous game if you get in too deep. So yeah, crazy times for sure. Crazy times. So if anyone else has any other questions, fire away. We'll be wrapping up here, but this is fun. We'll definitely do it again. This was a good time. I enjoyed doing this. I need to get my face out there more, so to speak. So you get to see my ugly mug more often. So This is from Antoine. Have you noticed that UM has strategically went after OSU in recruiting? OSU is losing that ability to snap their fingers and get anyone they want. UM making them fight for everything. Yeah, no, I think the tides have absolutely turned. And that's what happens when you win. A lot of that has to do with winning. You beat them 2 years in a row. You embarrass them in Columbus. You can go in there into Ohio and say, hey, look at this. Look at what we've done. You can join this and continue it if you want. And, it's worked well. Got guys like Luke Hamilton, Ben Roebuck, Ted Hammond, obviously the big one, Jordan Marshall. That one was huge. That one was a real gut punch to Ohio State. Big time gut punch. But again, if you got to be competitive on the field, you got to be competitive in recruiting too. And, you got to be able to make these punches and these you got to be making these statements. And Michigan has all the momentum in their favor, making these statements, and Ohio State can't answer them. So right now, Ohio State does not, especially in the state of Ohio, they are losing that ability to just say you, come on down, and they get them. Now they have to fight for it. With Kentucky, Cincinnati, back when Fickle was there, maybe they continue, but I think they'll drop off a little bit with Fickle being gone. But now that means Wisconsin will probably get into the state of Ohio more than they have. So there's competition now. Ohio State isn't they always will be the top dog in Ohio, but now you can't just rest on your laurels and just offer kids whenever you want, just knowing that you're going to get them. You're going to have to fight for every inch. And they're quickly realizing that now. The Michigan's back in the fold, that, nothing is guaranteed. They're going to have to fight. And they have lost a lot of fights. So the tide is quickly changing. So I do agree here with Antoine's next point too, that recruiting is beginning to be lopsided. Yeah, they're recruiting offense really well. And again, you do have to realize it's only June. Michigan was kind of in a similar spot last year, missing on guys, not reeling anyone in. And then they went on a run towards the end of the year. But every team goes through like a little bit of a slide during a year. You'll get a lull in they'll get a lull with commitments and recruits. It just happens. But I will say though, I do agree that they have not been as effective in recruiting as they have been in years past. And, is that an NIL thing? I don't know. I don't know their NIL situation, so I can't speak on that. But it's clear. It's clear that Michigan is causing some issues. Raising up a stink in the state of Ohio, and they've really disrupted things. So there's really, there's no denying it. No denying it at all. So things are quickly turning blue for Michigan. So that's a good thing. Always a good thing. So, all right. Well, it's almost 7:00 here. This has been fun. Still got some users viewing. So if anyone got any final questions they want to throw in, feel free. I'm going to take one more look at Twitter, see if I have any questions. Let's see what we got here. We got a Twitter comment here from Garth. Juwan has to get in front of a microphone and spell out what the problem is. If it's lack of NIL support, you say it. Admissions problems, say it. Lack of support from department, say that too. Needs to start using the office. He has to push back, stir the pot. I don't disagree. I think that's something that he should do. Jim Harbaugh hasn't been afraid to, call attention to the disparities in NIL. Juwan did it once during Big Ten Media Day, but I don't think it's a bad idea to do it. I think it's a good idea. They need help. And I'm sure Juwan's sitting here after all these guys have gone, like, what am I supposed to do? What can I do? I can't do anything to keep these guys. What can I do? And that's when maybe you use the media to get your point across. I know Juwan doesn't like to talk to the media. He's not, he doesn't enjoy seeing us and sitting down with us, but that's where, as a coach, you can use the media to your benefit. And I'm not saying that I would, spin something positive, but I do think if Juwan is sitting here and saying to us, hey, we need some help, what do we have to do to get help? That's a story. That's a story that needs to be told. And that's not just us being a mouthpiece for the program, because I would never do that. And I think, if you've been paying attention to our work, Trevor's work, Seth's work, even Dennis, I think we've been pretty open to criticizing where there's criticism needed and not, babying programs to preserve sources. But, if you're sitting there openly saying, hey, we need help, that's a story. That's a story that to be written about, and that could be, it's important to let people know what's going on. So, yeah, I think that's a good point. Good point by Garth there that, Michigan or Juwan should speak out more. I mean, what's he got to lose? Things aren't getting done by him not speaking. What happens if he speaks out? Nothing happens. He gets in trouble. Big whoop. Nothing's happening right now anyway. Oh wow, he gets in trouble. Big deal. He's brought attention to a situation that he needs fixed. And it's not going to get fixed if he bites his tongue. And maybe he's not biting. And again, maybe he's not biting his tongue. Maybe he's saying these things to anyone that will listen behind closed doors. Maybe he needs to take away that approach and tackle it head on, going to the media and saying, hey, man, we've tried, but we need some help. We need support like football. We can be winners like football if we get the support. And I do believe that. I do believe the basketball program can be winners and can continue to be winners if they can figure out their NIL situation. Football's done it. Why can't basketball do it? There's less guys on a basketball team. 15 scholarships compared to 90 or whatever Michigan football has right now. 15 guys to keep happy. 15 guys to recruit with a larger pool of money because you can give guys more. Who says you can't win? You can get it done. I believe it. Now, if they can't and you get guys, then that's an indictment on the head coach. Michigan is a program that can win. It's proven to win. So, I don't know. And Antoine brings up a good point here too. I mean, yeah, you can't. I mean, that's another one. Yeah, use the media. Hold on a second. We're just getting some awful tweets or awful things here. Come on, dude. You can't say that. You can't say that. I don't care if you're a hack, man. You can't. That kind of language can't be allowed on our chats here. That's terrible. Aiden, if you're still watching, hit me up. That's unacceptable. We can't do that. Terrible. So back to Antoine. Yeah, you go to the media, you say, hey, yeah, you set it up, the softball. I mean, and I'm sure someone can and will do that. It's a softball question. It is. You can give him a softball question that he can hit out of the park and speak his mind. Absolutely, you can do that. Obviously, at the end of the day, you don't want your coaches to come out and bag on their school. I mean, there's ways to do it without outright, insulting these guys. I think, you don't have to trash your university if you're Howard or Jim Harbaugh. And both have done a good job of being effective and also, I guess, dancing around the topic too without being like trashing their university. So there's a way that you can do both. So yeah, I mean, maybe a softball question happens whenever Juwan meets with the media again. Who knows? But yeah, I think yeah, there's things that need to be done. Absolutely, things need to be done. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, I think that'll yeah, I agree, Antoine. You use the media 100%. I mean, you can do that. You're in a position to do that. You can schedule a press conference tomorrow. Juwan can call the media to Ann Arbor tomorrow and he can say, hey, we need help. And absolutely right. Closed mouths don't get fed. Can't make progress if you're not talking. If you need help, say it. And if it's not, you're not getting the point home, take it one step further. Take it one step further. So, yeah. We'll see what happens. It'll be interesting. Next couple of weeks and months will absolutely be interesting here. They're in an interesting future. The basketball program is a very interesting future. So, all right, I think that'll do it for me. Yeah, this was fun. We'll have to do this again. That was a good, solid hour that we were talking. Some just general hangouts. I think it's cool to talk with the subscribers. I know most of these guys. I know a lot of you are on Dennis's show, and appreciate that very much. Thank you for the support, and it's always good to connect with people who are supporting us and other shows. Definitely want to do this again. Definitely want to be more active on the YouTube and the live space. So, again, thank you for everything. Thanks for the support. Appreciate you. Again, join us, michigan.rivals.com. We would love to have you. Great, like you said, greatest community I think we feel like we have. And again, it's because of everyone like Antoine, who has been, every show we see a guy. Well, I see Antoine in the comments, and couldn't be more appreciative of his efforts and his support. Antoine, you're my guy. I appreciate that. So, yeah, well, we'll see. Maybe, hopefully, nothing bad happens where I prompts me to do this again. So maybe we'll do another hangout sometime soon. But that'll do it for me. Again, appreciate everyone who came out and gave the answers, gave me questions. And we'll definitely do this again. So from Josh, from me, we'll see you soon. Again, remember, Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, Dennis' show. Sundays at 6:00. Trevor and I go live with Hail to the Podcast. Love to see you. Again, same format like this. You can ask us questions throughout the podcast, and we'll answer them as well. So again, thank you. Join us, michigan.rivals.com/sign up. Love to have you. And take care, everyone. And we'll see you soon.